Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi, and today we are looking at a couple of things that really excite me. So we have two of the three new Hermes lipstick shades. These are in the Brillant or Shiny finish, and the third one hasn't been released here in the United States yet, but I do have the other two, so we're going to take a look at those. And then, huge news, Addiction is here. Addiction is in the US. So I am so excited. If you have never heard of Addiction, it is a Japanese makeup line. I've been wanting to try it for years, and I finally actually placed an order in August from Fude Japan with some Addiction items because their most recent collection, I couldn't resist it. And I found out after that they were coming to the US and they just launched. So I'm going to share with you my collection, what I have so far from the brand. I'm so excited for this brand. I think it's going to be one that a lot of you really love. So let's start off with the Hermes lipsticks. So I picked up the two that are available. We have number 84, which is called Rouge Abyss. And this is, you can see they look really deep in the tube. But they are going to be a sheer formula. You can build them up. This one will get a bit deeper than the other one. You can see that the packaging on this, both of these, you've got beautiful gradient packaging here. So the Rouge Abyss is the purple and orange. And as always, the packaging is refillable on these. So if you use this up, you can replace it with a permanent shade, although mine seems to be stuck. I can't get it out. But there we go. It is permanent. So you can replace this with one of the lip balm shades or, a shade in the permanent line if you choose to at a later date. Just like other Hermes lipsticks, we've got the seal on here, the logo. It comes with a little burlap bag and so forth. But the important part are the shades here. So let's take a look. This one here again is Rouge Abyss. And this is one sheer layer. And this is like a neutral leaning cool shade. So it's a little cool. It's just not super cool. You can see it's kind of like a rosy burgundy. So you've got a touch of burgundy in there, but you definitely have a cool soft pink mixed in there as well, which really kind of softens the shade. And so that's a couple layers. Let's see if we can build that up even further. And one thing I want to draw your attention to, and you can see this on the swatches, you'll see this in the lip swatches as well. If you do have like dry patches on your lips or an area where more pigment gathers than others, it can look a little uneven that way. So you just want to spread it out evenly. That's all, very true of many sheer lipsticks. So let's take a look at number 90, Prunoir. And this is the one that's on my lips right now. And it's my favorite. I absolutely love this. You can see it is going to be a soft, plummy mauve purple shade. And I'll just build that up. Really beautiful. So this one's definitely going to be cooler in tone. It does have some purple. It's got a little bit of a blue vibe to it. Really pretty. So Rouge Abyss, I'd say, is pretty neutral. It's kind of like a... I would say if you were to compare it to a berry, you're looking at a crushed blackberry mixed with strawberry. So you've got kind of a little bit of blackberry in there, and that's where your coolness comes from. But then you have some of that strawberry, which is a bit warmer. So it's going to be pretty neutral, but it does lean cool. Prunoir on the other side is definitely going to be cool. And this one definitely has a bit of a purple glint to it. Really beautiful. Absolutely love it. Let's look at the lip swatches. These lipsticks are limited edition. They retail for $78 US. And according to Hermes, it says the Rouge Hermes Autumn-Winter 2023 collection introduces 3 new limited edition colors that are as intense as they are luminous. Sophistication and elegance unfold as dark hues magically reveal contrasting colors once applied. So Rouge Abyss is described as an elegant burgundy with a touch of cobalt blue, a true nighttime sun. It's a really beautiful shade. And, this actual texture is supposed to bring radiance and comfort to the lips. Like a veil, these variations of dark colored hues leave a subtle, translucent film on the lips, a surprising, nuanced shade with a luminous finish. Prunoir number 90 is described as a plum purple, illuminated from the inside by hints of pink. I would agree with both of their descriptions. You know, I think both shades are really beautiful. The third shade that we don't have here in the US is called, I want to say it was Rouge Bruni. If I'm incorrect, I'll put the name on the screen, but that is supposed to be a warmer tone, more of like a brick red, reddish orange kind of shade, I think. So we'll have to see that when that comes out. I will definitely be picking that up when it is available. I have to say I really, really like these. The formula, if you're not familiar with the shiny or brilliant formula from Hermes, it is a thin, slippery finish. It feels like a slightly heavier duty Chantecaille lip veil. It's not as thick as something like a Chantecaille lip chic. So it's more like the veil, but a little bit thicker than that. So it's kind of in between those two formulas. Very comfortable. I do find it hydrating. You know, it's got a little bit more slip than a tinted lip balm typically does. It is not sticky at all. So I have to say, it's a really beautiful formula. I really enjoy this one. And these shades, oh, they are gorgeous. Let's do a few comparisons. All right, so we've got quite a few lip comparisons. First, let's start off with the Esom lip palette here, because I did want to compare let's take a look at this shade here. This is actually shade number 10. So it's the purpley shade in the middle row. I wanted to show you how that one compares. And then we have the lighter shade right above it, number 5. Put that right there. And you can see how Prunoir compares to those. So looking at it, Prunoir is really close to shade number 10, but you can see that the Hermes is going to be much more sheer. It's also a little bit lighter, again, mostly due to the sheerness of it, but the actual color is pretty similar between the two of those. Few other comparisons. This is an Ilia lip gloss in Maybe Violet. I love this shade. I wear this one quite a bit. And you can see this is going to be a little bit more pink. Again, it's a gloss instead. But again, similar vibe, just a little bit more pink. We have the Cle de Peau. This is the Refined Lip Luminizer in shade number 2, Lavender. I think this is actually discontinued. Not really sure, but I love this shade. You can see that, again, that's similar. This is actually going to be a little bit more lavender, so it's going to be lighter. It's got a little bit more blue in it as well. Another gloss. This is discontinued. This is Love Lust from Tom Ford. This is another one that I really like. This is going to be lighter, though, more pink. We have the Guerlain Kiss Kiss Beat Glow in Lavender Glow. I love this one, so I use this one a lot. You can see the shade here. This is going to be a little bit lighter, more sheer. It's also going to be a little bit more pink. It's like a brighter violet. But again, it's a pretty good alternative. If you want something lighter, the Guerlain is a good option. Another gloss. This is Hermes in number 6, Purpura Cameron. So let's see how this one compares. And let's just put that there. You can see that's going to be brighter. And it's actually, again, more pink. But the one that I first thought of when I saw Purpura is Tom Ford's Sugar Glider. And finding a dupe for this is so hard. So I'm going to put this right in between the two Hermes shades. And I'll put it right up here too, so you can kind of see that. Now you can see that Sugar Glider is going to be different. It's a little bit more nude. So it's a little bit more of a dustier shade. But if you look at the one sheer layer of Prunoir with the Sugar Glider, they're actually very, very close. This, again, is going to be a little bit more nude. It has just a little bit more of a neutral hue to it. And the Prunoir is going to be a little bit cooler in tone, but you can see that they're pretty similar. This is just slightly rosier. Now, just a few other comparisons. We have Damson Jam from Byredo. We're going to put that one right here. So here's Damson Jam. And this is actually going to be a bit deeper, more red, and it's actually a little bit metallic as well. So different finish there. But this one here is Vieux Rose. And this made me think of the Rouge Abyss shade. But this is going to be cooler. It's a little bit more purple. It's definitely, let me put it over here next to Prunoir as well. but you can see that next to Prunoir, it's also going to be just a little bit, it's a little bit rosier. So not quite a match, but it is going to be really close still. And the last comparison is Cle de Peau. This is a Cream Rouge Matte in 120 Current. And let's go ahead and put this one. We'll just put it up here. And this is going to be a deeper berry shade with a touch of purple. This is it's significantly cooler than the Rouge Abyss, but aside from the coolness of it, it's a closer match to that than it is to Prunoir. This definitely has a lot more blue in it though, and it's more purpley. So the closest ones to Prunoir were Sugar Glider and I would say the Byredo Vieux Rose. So let me put those together. So here's Prunoir. Put Byredo Vieux Rose right there. And again, you can see it's a little bit more mauve, a little bit more neutral. There's more rose to it, so it's slightly warmer. And then we'll put Tom Ford Sugar Glider right below that. And you can see this is lighter. Again, this will also be more mauve and a little bit rosier, but you can see that it's cooler in tone than Vieux Rose. Vieux Rose, the rosiness in it is a little bit more red versus a dusty rose in the Sugar Glider. But you can see that Prunoir is kind of in between the two of those shades. So I hope this was helpful. Let's move on to Addiction. Addiction Tokyo, as I mentioned before, is a Japanese makeup brand, and this is a fantastic brand. Until this point, we weren't able to get it here in the US. If you did want to purchase it, you had to purchase through like Beauty Gypsy or Food Aid Japan. So I actually just recently ordered some items from Food Aid Japan, and then I found out that it was coming here. So let me go ahead. I'm going to share the items that I purchased. And right now you can purchase things from the Addiction Tokyo website. I'll leave that linked down below in the description box, but they don't have everything yet. I'm hoping everything is coming. There's a brand new foundation I'd love to try and so forth. So I have, eye and cheek products so far. I don't have any of their creams or liquids yet, but I have a huge cart already sitting on my computer right now for the website. So let me start off with the blushes, and we're going to swatch everything. Then we'll look at some eye and cheek demos, and you can see everything there. So when you're looking at the blushes, you do have different finishes. So let me start off. I have one that's actually just a true blush. This here is Skyflower. It's 007P. Now I noticed on the US website, they don't have the numbers. They just have the names. So this one here is Skyflower. And you can see that this is a really beautiful mid-tone pink with a touch of blue. Really beautiful shade. Let me buff that out. And, we do have different finishes available in the blush. You can see that this one is more of a pearl satin finish. And then also in the same vein, I have two other shades here that are, they're in the nuance section. So we have Aurora Veil, which is 005N. And I had to get this, right? Because it's like lavender. Look at this. So this, you can use it as a blush, but it is definitely holographic, very luminous. And I will show you that in the cheek swatches as well. And then, I think for my skin tone, it's probably best as a highlight. Actually, right now I have it on as a blush with the Skyflower on top of it to kind of subdue it a little bit. But absolutely beautiful, beautiful shade. And then we have the Addiction shade Stellar Dust. This is 006N. Look at this. This is actually going to be more translucent. This is going to be more of a glittery shade. So we've got a little bit of a translucent, soft, mauvey brown, but it has all of this multicolored glitter sparkle in there. So that's definitely intended to be more of a highlight or a topper. So these are the three cheek shades I have. Now I wanted to introduce you to the packaging here. This is plastic. You have clear, lucite here. It does have the circle in the back where you can, pop it out and make your own palettes. And they do sell palettes separately. So these are the limited edition palettes. Their normal palettes are just gonna be like a solid black, and you can get them in 2 sizes. You can see this can hold 6 eyeshadows or 3 blushes. You do have a mirror there, and you can just pop those in. So I haven't done that yet, but I had to pick up a couple of these palettes. You can see, again, these are limited edition with their new Prism collection. And you can see kind of like that rainbow iridescence. I'm not sure if it's coming through well on the camera, but it's really stunning in person. So I had to pick those up. I don't see those on the website, but they do have the limited edition eyeshadow color and the other eyeshadows from that collection. So let's actually just go ahead and look at the cheek swatches and demos of those here. And then I'll remove these swatches and put on the eye swatches. The Addiction blushes come in a few different finishes. We have the Pearl, which is going to be your like satin finish, and it's really stunning. You know, it's a subtle satin, but you can buff that out and get a little bit more luminosity if you buff it into the skin. We also have the Nuance finish, which are essentially your highlighters. Some of those are very glittery. Some of them are just more iridescent, but they're going to be a pretty sheer shade on their own. And then we have the matte blushes. I don't have any of those yet. Now, according to Addiction, it says they have this skin melt technology that coats the powder with oil. It melts onto the skin, it adheres snugly. And if that sounds familiar, that's very much like the melting powder blushes from SUQQU. So, it's a similar formula to those. I do find the SUQQU melting powder blushes feel ever so slightly softer than the Addiction. But I would have to say that the finish on the skin is very, very similar. They've got a great range of colors as well. Also, according to Addiction, it's got a creamy powder. Now, it does contain talc, by the way, and it gives it a smooth texture that doesn't feel powdery. And, you've got luster and translucence with the delicate shimmer of pearl in the pearl finish. And it is fragrance free. So just something to note there. And I have to say, I think these are gorgeous blushes. The Nuance shades are referred to as a top coat for cheeks that lets you add the nuance of light with the sparkle of multicolored pearl. And again, they are really beautiful. You can use them on the eyes as well. Although I have to say I have not double checked to make sure that they are eye safe, but I personally use them on the eyes and I think they are, they're gorgeous. So in particular are the ones I have. I like the Stellar Dust on the eyes, kind of buffed onto the brow bone or just kind of as a topper as well. I think it's really beautiful. So I would have to say that this blush formula is fantastic. If you've been really sad about the SUQQU melting powder blushes or melting color blushes being discontinued, I would definitely take a look at the Addiction formula as well. Plus, these are not that hard on the wallet either. So I did want to compare the SUQQU melting powder blush in 105. So this is that lavender shade that nobody's been able to replicate. Now you can see that this shade here from Addiction is more translucent, is more iridescent than the SUQQU. And again, that's going to be shade Aurora Veil. But I wanted to show you the SUQQU 105. It's going to be more pink, but it has a more similar finish to the pearl finish. And actually, it's actually a little bit more of a sheen than the pearl finish. So I would have to say that the Addiction are just slightly firmer product overall compared to the SUQQU. So the SUQQU is a little bit creamier, a little bit softer, but they do have a very similar texture on the skin. They both really melt in and last all day, and you can see that in the wear test there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the eyeshadows. Now I'm going to start off with an eyeshadow palette that I picked up. This is a limited edition palette. It's called Under the Starlight. It's shade number 103. And again, you can buy them as palettes, but most of their shadows, at least right now on the US site, they've got them all as individuals. The individuals do come with their own packaging, or you can move them into a case if you choose. So this does come with, utensils in the case, but let's go ahead and swatch this. This is what is on my eyes right now. And you can see we have this warm rose beige shimmer shade. And then we have this matte. It is going to be more of a true light brown beige. And then we have a gray and a blue. So this gray though, I want to mention, it is a neutral gray. So we do have brown in there. A lot of grays are going to run a little cool. Maybe you'll see some blue in there. With this one, you actually see more brown. It's not, it's almost a warm gray. Like that's how much brown is in there. That's almost a warm gray. And then this blue here is kind of like the faded night sky. So, you know, as you start seeing that night sky start to fade, it's going to be a light, like steely blue. So this is a palette 103 called Under the Starlight. That is a limited edition palette. Let's take a look at the singles that I purchased. So I have 3 of the pearl finish. And again, this is going to be your satin form here. So it doesn't really have glitter, but it does have micro pearl. So this here is the satin in Private Beach. This is 004 and then P for pearl. And I mean, I think this is a really beautiful beigey champagne shade. Really a gorgeous shade. I love this. And then we have Nostalgia, which is 009P. And this is going to be a bit deeper. And you can see we've got a little bit more red in here. Again, this is also in the pearl finish. And if you look at the micro pearl in there, I can see like a touch of gold and red in there. It's really pretty. And then my favorite though is Flashback, which is 010P. And then this is 010P. This is Flashback. And this is my favorite out of the ones I picked up. You can see this is a taupe shade here. It's pretty much a true taupe. You have, you know, that gray and that brown pretty evenly mixed. And again, we have kind of this beautiful satin finish with just a little bit of soft pearl in there. So these are going to be your pearl finishes. Again, we have 4, 9, and 10. So 4 is Private Beach, 9 is Nostalgia, 10 is Flashback. And then their most recent launch has been this Prism collection. And I didn't pick up everything from the collection, but I did pick up 3 of the powder eyeshadows. They also have some cream shadows, which, you know, I think I'll try out perhaps in my next order here. But let's go ahead and start with these. So the Prism line is actually a new line. And these are your iridescent sparkles. So these are glitters, but they also have a sparkle line that is like your straight up glitter. These are going to be your iridescents, your holographic shades. So this one here is number 1 in the Prism, so 001 PR. This is called Happy Tears. Texturally, this feels more like a slightly drier form of the Surratt hologram shadows. You know, those are really creamy. They really indent. But this feels like that without the indentation. So it's very smooth, it's soft, and you can see that this is going to be a pretty much translucent base with gold shimmer. And I have that on top of the quad right now in my eyes because I wanted to kind of tone it down a little bit. And then this one here is 002 PR, Dance in the Air. And they describe this as a gray with micro glitter. You don't really see too much of the gray. You really see more of the multicolored sparkle here. And really I notice like a little bit more pink in there. So that's number 2. And then this is one of the limited edition shades. So this is on their website, but you have to go to the limited edition section. It's not with the other Prism shades. This is 101 PR, Hour of Magic. And I mean, look at this beautiful purple. So you can see we got a translucent purple here with purple sparkle, and it's holographic, so you get like that purple pink shift. Really, really beautiful shades here. So let's take a look at the eye swatches and demos while we talk a little bit about these formulas. So the eyeshadows retail for about $22 US, and we have a few different finishes. There's the pearl finish, which is your satin with a little bit of pearl. We've got the sparkle, which are your glitter shades. We have the prism, which are your iridescent glitters, your holographic shades. There are matte shades, which I don't have any of those yet. And then they have cream shadows as well. So, you know, you've got a few different finishes. You can mix and match however you choose. But let's start off with the pearl shades. So I picked neutrals I knew I would wear all the time because honestly, when I made this purchase, I did not realize they were going to be coming to the US. So I wanted to get some shades I knew I would get a ton of use out of and, you know, would really be a great opening to the brand. So I picked 3 beautiful neutrals. I have to say I'm really happy with these shades, but Flashback is my favorite of the 3 pearls I picked up. And according to you know, according to Addiction, it says the pearl eyeshadow imparts a fine pearl shimmer for a lustrous satin finish. The formula blends effortlessly into skin and builds with ease for your desired look. Now, texturally, these are very, very smooth. They have a silky touch to them, but there's a touch of creaminess to it as well. So you have a little bit of moisture in the powder, which really prevents any fallout. You know, again, we don't have actual glitter, but there is micro pearl in there. So it's very, very finely milled, but you don't get any fallout with that. Again, partly due to that creaminess of the formula, that little bit of moisture in there that holds everything together. And you really just get more of a lustrous, buffed in sheen versus seeing any sparkle per se. Now, I would have to say though that the shade that I have in number 4, Private Beach, that one is a little bit more shimmery. I would tend to say that one's not even a true satin. That one's definitely more sparkly. So that one definitely has micro glitter. It's silver micro glitter on kind of this golden, or not golden, like a brown champagne base. But the other 2 that I have, Nostalgia and Flashback, those are definitely more of a true satin finish. And again, you have micro pearl buffed into there, but you're not really seeing particles of anything in there. So a really beautiful satin. And I love them. So this shade Flashback is just an absolutely gorgeous taupe. I'm so happy with that. Now, moving on to the Prism shades. Now, the Prism shades, again, this is going to be a new formula for them. And it says that it captivates with ultra-fine chromatic shimmer and an iridescent finish. The translucent formula creates a scintillating effect solo or adds a perfect finishing touch to any eye look. And these are the ones that feel a little bit more like the Surratt hologram shades, but firmer in the pan. Surratt holograms, you know, they've got a very silky, creamy finish. It's very soft though, so it indents very easily. This doesn't do that, but it does have the same texture when you touch it. Obviously not as creamy. It's a drier version, which also prevents the indentation. But, you know, if you run your finger over it, that's what it is going to feel like. Performance-wise, these shadows hold up very, very well. You can see in the wear test that they perform very nicely over the days. And it has been, you know, we've had such a high heat index here this week that, you know, when I was doing these wear tests, I've been outside in the heat and humidity. It's been so hot that they have had indoor recess, all outdoor activities have been canceled in our area and everything. So it's definitely like melting weather. And, you know, you can see how well these things have held up in those types of conditions. So very impressive. I would say, you know, the formulas for these are just really comfortable. Again, these are fragrance free and they are just very smooth and silky to the touch. Fallout has not been an issue. However, I would expect, you know, perhaps some fallout with some of the Prism shades, but it hasn't been an issue for me at this time. So overall, I have to say the eyeshadows, the blushes, they are fantastic. I cannot wait to try more Addiction items. So as I mentioned, they don't have everything on the US site yet, but I think they will be adding to it. There's a new foundation I'd like to try, some lipsticks and so forth. And just like SUQQU, Addiction, you know, they have everything numbered. Anything below 100 is a permanent item. Anything above 100 is limited edition. So they do follow a similar, you know, identification process as SUQQU. And, you know, the formulas are fairly similar. The eyeshadow formulas, I would have to say, though, do feel very different between SUQQU and Addiction. The SUQQU eyeshadow formulas feel like they have a little bit more grip and they feel they're a little different. You know, they feel more like a silky powdery formula. You know, they're not messy or anything at all. Whereas these feel a little bit creamier but firmly pressed. They are a beautiful, beautiful formula compared to Surat, which is that's a Japanese American brand. You know, those feel a bit more powdery than either the SUQQU or the Addiction, but I would say that the Surat formula feels a little bit more similar to the SUQQU than the Addiction. The Addiction, particularly this pearl finish, feels like a slightly less creamy version of my favorite YSL unconforming taupe shade. So if you've used that or you have that, I would say that the pearl finish feels very similar to that, but it's a little bit of a thinner formula than the YSL. Now, if you're familiar with the SUQQU Mono eyeshadows, those are called the Tone Touch Eyes, the powder formulas. I would say that those feel very similar to the Addiction shadows. Those are more like the previous SUQQU version of their eyeshadow. You know, we now have signature color eyes for the quads, but before that we had, oh, what was that called? I cannot remember. Was it like dynamic or enhancing? Anyway, that previous version is more like what you feel in the Tone Touch Eyes from SUQQU, and that's more similar to these Addiction shadows. Now, let's just take a quick swatch of this YSL Unconforming Taupe, and you can see, really beautiful shade. I just want to see how this compares to Flashback here, and you can see that they are close. The YSL is going to be a bit deeper, and it's also going to be a little bit more gray tone. So it's a little bit cooler in tone than Flashback from Addiction. And then this is Roan from Chantecaille. We're not going to be swatching like a ton of these, but this did make me think of Private Beach. So I kind of wanted to see, but you can see that this is much peachier. So one more, let's just do Pinto. All right, here's Chantecaille Pinto. And again, texturally, you know, I would say that these also, you know, have a similar texture to, so here's Pinto, and you can see Pinto is actually closer to Nostalgia. So just a couple of quick comparisons there. And then these prismatic shades, you know, I would say, again, texturally, they remind me of some of the sparkly SUQQU singles. Let's look at one of those. And this one's not as sparkly, but it is my favorite here. But texturally, this feels pretty similar. You can see this is also going to be a shimmery shade. I like to wear this one topped on top of other shadows, and you see more of the color then. But this is number 108. And yeah, really beautiful. So this would be similar to the Prism in texture, and it's kind of a cross between Dance in the Air and the Hour of Magic. So I picked that one up actually thinking it was this one. So this is number 13. This is actually my most used shade here, but let's just swatch this down here. But you can see, again, texturally it's going to feel similarly, but it's not as translucent. So some of the Tone Touch eyes are going to be, you know, they have different finishes and formulas slightly as well. Texturally though, it will feel more like the Prism or prismatic shades versus the Pearl, which is a little bit smoother and silkier to the touch. So I hope this has been helpful. I am so incredibly excited to have Addiction here in the US. I cannot wait to see their future launches. You know, if you follow them on Instagram at all, you may have seen some sneak peeks of things coming out soon. I'm really hoping that they will be available here on the new US website. Can't wait to try more formulas from them. So let me know what you've tried from the brand. If there's anything particular you think I would absolutely love, please share any suggestions down below. Or if you have any requests for the future, please let me know as well. Now, as for the Hermes lipsticks, I absolutely love them. I think both shades are totally gorgeous. You know, I have no regrets about picking up either one of these, but Prunoir is going into, you know, one of my like total favorite shades. I love this kind of purpley lavender shade, and I just think it is stunning. Great for the entire year, in my opinion. It's not just a fall shade or a spring shade. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to know your thoughts on everything here, and I will see you very soon. Have a wonderful day.